To you from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Ibem Nabunda. Let's get started. Now, coming up, one of the country's largest agricultural events, the Agricultural Dealers and Manufacturers Association, popularly known as the Atma Agri Show, ran from Thursday till Saturday with over 250 local and foreign exhibitors, livestock auctions and vendors on 25 hectares in Pomona, Harare. We spoke to the Atma chairman, Mr. Marco Garizio. Zimbabwe's gold deliveries to Fidelity Gold Refinery increased by 27.6% year-on-year, with total deliveries reaching 3,488 kilograms in May, surpassing the 2,734 kilograms recorded in the comparative 2024 period. South Africa's key export industries are becoming increasingly vulnerable as climate policies like cross-border carbon taxes take hold, according to a study by Net Zero Tracker. A United Nations Environment Programme official highlighted the critical role oceans play in sustaining human life and driving economic growth as Sunday marked the World Oceans Day. Chinese high-tech companies debuted in the African market at a security expo held in South Africa, providing new solutions to tackle the high crime rate and cybersecurity threats. The U.S. government's unauthorized deep-sea mining in international waters is unlawful and will trigger disastrous environmental and geopolitical consequences, warned Leticia Carvalho, Secretary General of the International Seabed Authority. And jobs at the Port of Los Angeles, the largest and busiest port in the United States, are down by half as U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff hikes cripple trade with the Asia-Pacific, local media reported over the weekend. Of course, we take a look at these stories in detail here on The Mint. The Mint will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just really spoilt.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Dental checkups, experiments, games.
The mixture is making bubbles and the bubbles have changed color. A balloon has been filled by carbon dioxide.
We have it all right here on Happy Sprouts. Catch us exclusively on Citizen Prime, DSTV channel 294.
Welcome back to The Mint. We are broadcasting to you live from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Ibem Mabunda. Now we take a look at our stories in detail. One of Zimbabwe's largest agriculture events, of course, the Agriculture Dealers and Manufacturers Association, popularly known as the Atma Agri Show, ran from Thursday till Saturday with over 250 local and foreign exhibitors, livestock auctions and vendors on 25 hectares of land in Pomona, Harare. We spoke to the Atma chairman, Mr. Marco Garizio, by the sidelines of the event over the weekend. Let's take a look. Thank you for engaging in conversation with the ZTN Bar.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. May you tell us about the highlights of the 2025 edition of the ADMA and what it's all about?
Let me start off by explaining ADMA. ADMA was an association that's properly constituted with a board of members and a board of directors. The association originally was formed by a number of agricultural dealers that felt that there had to be some body governing over the companies that distribute agricultural goods. So we pretty much stand as an arbitrator if there's any dispute between a customer and a company which belongs to ADMA. And in that constitution, which was originally written, one of the obligations of ADMA was, in the best interests of the public and the members, was to promote the agricultural machinery trade. And so we, 9 years ago, started the very first agri show. We started at Thorn Park Polo Ground. We then moved to Borrowdale Race Course, and we've now moved to Art Farm. And every move was because we required more and more land. If you have a look at the volume of cars that we need to park, we need a lot of land. So this is an ideal venue for that. I'd like to thank the executives of Art Farm for a long-term lease to ADMA, which has allowed us to put in necessary infrastructure to accommodate a show of this size. The show has grown year on year, and this year we have 260 exhibitors. We don't intend to expand the show any bigger than it currently is. One of the reasons is that we believe that the industry is properly represented with the size of the show that we have, and it's the size that a farmer can get around the show in a day. And we value the interaction between our farmers and the trade, where they can compare prices, they can compare product against product on the ground. So that's the main purpose of the Agri Show.
Right. Let's talk about some of the key features of this very edition and how that is very different from perhaps the previous edition or editions, to put it across that way.
This year is pretty much the same sort of exhibits that were exhibited last year. The only addition that we've made to the last year is, for the second year running now, we have had an exhibit of indigenous cattle. And we have 3 indigenous breeds in Zimbabwe. The Nkoni, which has an interesting history where they came with the Mzilikati from the Natal area. Then we have the Mashona, which was a traditional Mashona cow. And then we have the Chuli, which comes from the Chuli area in Madabizela. And these breeds have had thousands of years of acclimatization to the African continent. One has to recognize that in those days there was no dipping, there was no inoculation, there was nothing. It was fittest of the survival, fittest to survive.
Of course, survival of the fittest, given of course that particular context, and they pretty much had to make do with whatever. Yeah.
So it's really important that we preserve those genetics, and those genetics are being recognized worldwide because of their resistance to tick-borne diseases and other diseases. For example, if one of our local cattle gets foot and mouth, it's more likely to survive than a Sussex or one of the other breeds, foreign breeds that have been introduced. So we're having our second national breed sale of those 3 breed. Saturday, 10 o'clock. Tomorrow's Saturday, 10 o'clock.
Right. Let's talk about the gap that you are seeking to bridge in terms of ensuring that there's adequate mechanization, of course, of the local agricultural players, farmers, as it were. How important is this particular event towards bridging that particular gap?
Well, you know, within the farming community, we've got different sectors of farmers. For example, we've got our emerging commercial farmers, and we've got the small subsistence farmers. And one of the key focuses on a number of stands here is the mechanization of those small-scale farmers. So what you'll see and find is that there are implements and there are small tractors which are going to accommodate those farmers. Then you've got the mid-range farmers, which is where most of this equipment goes. And so you've got between a 50 and 90 horsepower tractor for that range of farmers. And then for the big commercial farmers, which are doing hundreds of hectares, the window for land preparation between reaping this year's crop, and getting the next crop in is a small window. So in order to get that volume of hectareage done, you need big equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And let's talk about the funding. Funding has been a concern for some of the players within the agricultural sector. Are there initiatives that on the table that have been proffered to try and help farmers to ensure that they get the necessary funding to get the adequate equipment?
Right. Again, there's two phases here. We have the commercial banks, which will loan farmers funding for capital equipment. However, in most cases, they are looking at additional security, not just the tractor itself. So that limits, in addition to that, they require the farmer to qualify in terms of balance sheets, cash flow projections, and so on and so forth, which a lot of the farmers can't produce. But government has stepped in that area. We've had the Belarusian government-to-government equipment coming into Zimbabwe. So a lot of combine harvesters have come, and a lot of tractors, in excess of 2,000 tractors have come. Government have allowed those tractors through the Agricultural Finance Corporation and some of the banks with very low deposits to go to farmers on long, lengthy repayment plans, 3 to 5 years.
Right. And lastly, future plans for the ATMA in the foreseeable season?
Well, it's an annual event, and it will happen around this time every year. And it's an event that's very well supported, as you can see by the number of visitors we've got.
Absolutely.
Last year we had 16,000 visitors. We expect it to be around about that number again.
Marco Garizio, the chairman, of course, of ATMA, so thank you for speaking to ZTN Prime, and good luck with this very one and the ensuing ones.
Thank you very much.
Well, of course, that was the conversation with Marco Garizio, the chairman, of course, for ATMA, speaking to us by the sidelines of the ATMA 2025 edition, which was, of course, taking place in Pomona, 25 hectares of land, giving us a sneak peek into how the fair actually played out and what were some of the key characteristics of that 2025 fair. Now, Zimbabwe's gold deliveries to Fidelity Gold Refinery increased by 27.6% year-on-year, with total deliveries reaching 3,488 kilograms, surpassing the 2,734 kilograms recorded in May 2024. Of course, that's a comparison of the 2025 May and the 2024 May figures. Despite this year-on-year increase, the country recorded a 9.48% 8% decrease in gold deliveries in May 2025 at 3,488 kilograms, down from 3,854 kilograms in April. The artisanal and small-scale mining sector, which is the backbone of Zimbabwe's gold industry, contributed 552 kilograms in May 2025. This, however, represents a 12.77% decrease from April's outturn. The resilience of the artisanal mining sector is notable given the challenges of rising operational costs and unstable power supplies. In contrast, large-scale miners recorded a modest 0.91% increase in May, delivering 936 kilograms, up from 927 kilograms in April 2025. However, this figure reflects an 11% year-on-year decline from the 1,056 kilograms delivered in May 2024, attributed to high production costs and capital issues faced by primary producers. Now, despite a slight dip in May 2025 compared to April, Zimbabwe's gold sector is trending upwards year on year, with small-scale miners leading the charge. The Zimbabwe Miners Federation Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Wellington Takavarasha, said the collaboration between Zimbabwe's Miners Federation and the government is yielding positive results in formalizing artisanal and small-scale mining operations. Weighing in on the improved gold deliveries, Young Miners Foundation Chief Executive Officer Payne Kufuor said an increase in gold prices has inspired growth in gold deliveries over the year. Well, time for us to take a breather. After the break, South Africa's key export industries are becoming increasingly vulnerable as climate policies like cross-border carbon taxes take hold. Now, the Minute right back. Don't go anywhere.
Pardon?
Look up.
Oh!
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Ollie J, your host and captain for this technological voyage.
They say that curiosity killed the cat. Well, we say curiosity makes you swipe.
Okay, there's a real big one. Oh, okay.
Okay, take the elevator.
Okay,
Where they
that
going?
one
Look
came
up,
out of
Look
the-
up.
From some tech-tastic adventures to some out-of-this-world Zimbabwean inventions to the scientifically mind-boggling, we show it all.
What we're looking at is two charging ports to charge the vehicle.
And things get electric. Catch Swipe right here on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294.
Welcome back, gospel music lovers, to another season of My Ultimate Gospel 10. Your ultimate destination for soul-stirring melodies and inspirational stories.
Might prepare me for a good day.
God is faithful because He's holy.
Like, wow, this is beautiful.
Each week, they'll be revealing their top 10 gospel songs. Meet Miss Becky K, the dynamic and passionate new presenter for Season 3.
If you are ready, let's get into My Ultimate Gospel 10.
Premiering soon, only on ZTN Prime. Stay tuned and let the music uplift your soul.
Welcome back to the Mint. We're broadcasting to you live from Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. I'm Ibn Mabunda. South Africa's key export industries are becoming increasingly vulnerable as climate policies like cross-border carbon taxes take hold, according to a study by Net Zero Tracker. About 422,000 South African jobs are supported by exports to countries with active or incoming carbon border adjustment mechanisms, with Net Zero Tracker's researchers indicating some of the key shifts. The taxes have implications for jobs, inequality and tackling poverty in one of the world's most unequal societies, they added, while urging wealthier countries to support South Africa's path to decarbonization. Carbon border adjustment mechanisms, or CBAMs, are designed to reduce emissions by ensuring imports are subject to the same surcharges as domestically produced goods that use carbon-intensive methods. The European Union, South Africa's second biggest trade partner after China, will start levying charges through its CBAM next year. The UK plans to follow suit, and countries including Australia and Japan are also considering introducing measures. While it's bad for South Africa, said John Lang, the project's lead at Net Zero Tracker, which is run by 4 organizations including the UK's Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit. The rubber is going to hit the road next year. South Africa has joined India and Brazil in protesting against CBAMs, which they see as a form of protectionism. It has threatened to raise a complaint with the World Trade Organization. South Africa relies on coal for about 4/5 of its electricity generation and thus has the most carbon-intensive economy among the group of 20 major economies. The country's basic metal sector, which accounted for almost a third of its export in 2023, has nearly twice the embodied carbon dioxide emissions of its next most carbon-intensive peer country, Net Zero Tracker said. If CBAMs expand beyond raw materials, as the researchers expect, other South African industries will be at risk. Its automotive sector has the second highest emissions in the world, and its agricultural producers create 3 times the emissions of some peer countries, the researchers found. A United Nations program official highlighted the critical role oceans play in sustaining human life and driving economic growth as Sunday marked the World Oceans Day. Sheila Agrakwal Khan, director of UNEP's Industry and Economic Division, expanded on the ocean's significance in an interview with the China Global Television Network, the CGTN, stressing their value beyond tourism and trade.
China alone has 7.8% of its GDP comes from the oceans. It's a source of, so food, it regulates weather, produces oxygen, so we couldn't live without it. And it's, of course, where a lot of, let's say, trade happens, right? It's the transport medium. So beyond, tourism and, enjoying just the view of an ocean, of course, you also have new investments that are coming through today, like offshore wind, blue economy. And so it's also another source of income generation or investment opportunity that exists.
She added that globally there is a big movement on what is called the blue economy, where one can invest.
Globally, you see a big movement on what is called the blue economy, where, you can invest, which has, let's say, uses the environment in a way, in a positive way. And so whether it's, sustainable fisheries, whether it's, coral reef investment opportunities or materials that can be, that are regenerative. Blue economy offers, let's say, opportunities for investments. And there are funds, for example, like the Global Fund for Coral Reef, where China could play a very big role in. There are opportunities for renewable energy investments. There are opportunities for materials that can service a more circular economy approach to many different value chains.
Agarwal Khan emphasized the importance of expanding funding mechanisms that foster collaboration between the public and private sectors to tackle pressing environmental challenges.
So right now, there are a few mechanisms to provide financing to governments and other stakeholders. For example, the Global Environment Facility is a grant mechanism, but also has a non-grant mechanism attached to it, which provides financing for plastic pollution. There's a big impact program on plastics that UNEP and the Worldwide Fund for Nature are leading with a number of other partners and countries. But beyond that, there are more, let's say, mechanisms that are coming around, which include industry engagement. So, both the private sector and governments working hand in hand. And one example is a funding partnership between the IFC, the UN's Capital Development Fund, UNEP, and then, of course, with collaboration from the Worldwide Fund for Nature, which is also setting up a financing mechanism similar to this, which is trying to fund investment opportunities with debt or either with equity financing that could go to the private sector, but also get funded from private sector contributions mixed with government contributions.
Elsewhere, Chinese high-tech companies debuted in the African market at a security expo held in South Africa, providing new solutions to tackle the high crime rate and cybersecurity threats. From Tuesday to Thursday, the 2025 International Securities Expo was held in Johannesburg, South Africa. Nearly 10 Chinese high-tech companies were grouped to present new security products at this largest and most comprehensive expo on security products and services in Africa. The Chinese companies have brought world-leading technologies and cost-effective solutions to counter criminal acts in South Africa, according to Mark Anderson, Program Director of the Expo.
Obviously, we can't get around the fact that South Africa is a high crime country, and what helps fight that crime is technology. And I mean, obviously, China is at the cutting edge of bringing the latest technology into the sector, into the world, into the security environment. So the industry is always looking for what's new out there. How can they improve? How can they adapt and evolve and fight crime in a more cost-effective way?
Now, among all exhibitors, a highlight is the rapid fingerprint and palm print matching systems, which can process 100 million matches in 1 to 2 seconds, empowering security checks for customs and major events and allowing instant identity verification. Now, in terms of forensic technology, a rapid DNA profiler dramatically compresses processing time from 3 to 5 days to just 2 hours, significantly extending the golden hour of 4 criminal investigations. For maritime safety, an AI-powered unmanned rescue boat drew particular attention. With visual algorithms, the vessel autonomously identifies drowning victims and deploys flotation devices. Already proven effective in Southeast Asian waters, the technology shows strong potential to enhance water safety for South Africa's extensive coastline. Li Jihao, a Chinese exhibitor, said they are glad that they have the chance to bring these excellent products and latest technologies out of China to the African continent. Well, quite some mouth-watering developments there from that particular event that took place in South Africa. Now, the US government's unauthorized deep-sea mining in international waters is unlawful and will trigger disastrous environmental and geopolitical consequences, warned Leticia Carvalho, Secretary General of the International Seabed Authority. The warning follows an executive order signed by US President Donald Trump's administration in April to fast-track the exploration and exploitation of deep-sea mineral resources on the US extended continental shelf and even in the areas beyond the US jurisdiction.
It's absolutely clear that under the law of the sea, no sovereignty rights can be granted in the areas outside of national jurisdiction. So I am firstly convinced that the legal arrangement established under the law of the sea grants that the area outside of national jurisdiction is a common heritage of mankind, and therefore the claims, unilateral claims.
And that's a wrap on The Mint today. Do follow us on our social media handles at Zim Papers TV Network as well as at ZTN Prime. I'm Ibn Mabunda, the money man. Let them do what they do. When we do what we do, we mean business. Thank you for watching and have a good day.